was going to.
Goosebumps?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a good movie.
And I was excited for this movie because I thought it was going to be similar. I think it was the same tone. But I was also very excited because it was directed by Eli Roth.
Yeah.
Who, if you guys don't know, was Donnie in Inglourious Bastards, the Bear Jew. Obviously, everybody was excellent in that movie. And he did, what was the other movie he directed a little while back was Death Wish with Bruce Willis. I think that was the name of that movie.
Oh, was that an Eli Roth movie?
Yeah.
Dang, that's a shame.
Did you see it?
No, I heard it was really bad. I'm just saying it didn't do well. It didn't
do great. But
anyways.
I think it was for Bruce Willis, it felt kind of low budget, I think.
Yeah.
But this one was a bigger budget, obviously, produced by Steven Spielberg. And one of the reasons I was excited to see it is because in all the interviews I saw with Eli Roth, he was like, yeah, I was talking to Steven Spielberg, and he was like, make it scary. Don't be afraid to make it scary. Because it is a kid's movie. But
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg's advice to him was like, kids, kind of want to be scared. Mm-hmm. I will say, I was hoping that it was going to be a little, I thought it was maybe creepy, but not scary.
Yeah, I guess like the one part with like the dolls, that was about it.
Well, the dolls.
But dolls are like inherently creepy
all the time.
So they didn't like do anything special to make it creepy. Like they were just dolls, so it was creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing really was that scary in this movie. Nothing comes to mind thinking. Well, I think there was one jump scare maybe.
Yes,
however, it was just random.
I will say,
it came out of nowhere.
But that's what you want out of a jump scare, right?
I mean, like,
you don't want to see it coming.
No, I get that.
You don't think it matched the tone up?
No, it was just like,
I didn't have a problem with it.
No,
I thought
that's weird.
I thought it was good.
I
thought that was a moment where they were going to start to change the tone into a scarier thing, and I think it would have been a good bridge for that. But like we said, it really didn't do much. But I do think that jump scare was better than any jump scare in The Nun. That one jump scare was better than any jump scare that was in The Nun.
Yeah, that's very true actually, because it was very unexpected. The tension wasn't really there, but it wasn't really, I don't know, it was weird.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, this movie, I have a lot of mixed things about this movie, because it's like, there are some parts that I was like, this is like really cool. Like, I see the potential here. Yeah. Especially with, I think Jack Black does a great job. I like him in...
I think the acting across the board from the young fellow who plays Lewis, there are some lines that he doesn't do great.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part he does, because the kid is like he's a quirky kid, right? I think he does a good job.
I think when he actually...
But some of the ways he delivers his lines,
I think when he actually has to act, I think that's when he has issues. Because whenever he I just didn't buy his, like, whenever he cries like a lot in this movie, and whenever he cried in this movie, I just like, I was like...
I am glad you brought that up, because I didn't think that it was inherently terrible. I just think it was different from crying that you normally see in movies. And maybe it wasn't the best, but I just feel like he was trying to cry differently and make it more realistic. Like, just to bring up another movie, I don't want to get away from this, but In Time with Justin Timberlake, that movie.
Oh, yes.
There's a scene at the beginning when Justin Timberlake kind of cries, and he does it. I've not seen anybody cry like that. And it is kind of like weird and off-putting, but it is more realistic. So that's what I think he was trying to go for.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But yeah, and you mentioned the way he delivers some of his lines is just not very
just
great.
some of them.
But Cate Blanchett was good too. She didn't do much in this movie. I was a little I just expected her to do more, I guess. She wasn't in the movie that much. I don't know. It was...
I think, yeah. But, her character really developed a lot, though.
But
for being in it as little as she was.
No, exactly. And the writing was okay. It wasn't anything crazy. Nothing like really wowed me in this movie, I guess. Like, I didn't know what to expect really, but like I didn't have as much fun in this movie that I wanted to have, I guess.
That's an interesting point.
That's
an interesting point. Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I think it was maybe the story, or like the way the story was told. I honestly don't know. Like, the pacing was okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't.
Fine. I'll say this. One of the things that I did really enjoy was the set design.
The set design was cool.
Looked
You're right.
great. The town looked really cool.
The CGI was not great.
It was fine. It was better than Predator.
It was better than Predator.
We keep bringing it up last week, but those movies were rough, so I guess that's why. And a big thing that we had a difference on, and I just want to touch on this, was the directing. And I think that it was... I
really didn't care for it, yeah.
I thought it was fine. You kind of were saying that you didn't he didn't do anything special or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that
it was just very
the things that he placed in the background and the color choices that he made, that's what I like to see.
Okay.
Like those, because we were talking about camera movements, and there aren't any really exceptional camera movements. But
some of the shots were cool, like
compositionally.
Some of them were cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But like the subtle things like that, like the things that might influence someone without them realizing, not camera movements, but just things around the set and stuff like that. That's what I liked, and I think that he did a fairly good job with that.
Just the last thing really quick. I think my main issue with this movie was the dialogue. I did not care for the dialogue. I think the dialogue was just a little too... at parts too cheesy. Like, I understand what this movie's going for.
It's a kids movie. It's fun.
I know,
it's based
but
on
it was
book.
just. I know, but it was like sometimes it was like a lot. Like, I don't know.
I completely disagree with you on that. I did not have an issue. I didn't cringe once during this.
Also, not enough chair.
Enough chair.
Chair was like one of the best characters in the movie.
There's a magic chair. Chair's the best character.
Yep. All right. It really was.
Let's get to the ratings.
Baby Jack Black was weird. I didn't care for that, but okay. Anyways, I'm gonna give this a 6 out of 10. It's just a little bit above it's a little bit better than okay. It's like
I think it's much better than okay. I'm gonna give, that being said, I'll give it like a 6.5, 7.
Okay.
Because
that's solid.
Yeah, it's just a fun movie. Obviously, it wasn't as much fun as we thought it was, but I would definitely take, if I had children, I would take them to go see it. I thought it was a nice family movie. It was cool. And it was a little different than just your generic thing.
It's not the best movie out right now, sadly. So, yeah.
Well, everybody, we are going to be right back. We're going to be talking about Peppermint, starring Jennifer Garner. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you then.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
You've messed up your son's haircut. Do you try to fix it? Work with what you've got? Or show solidarity?
Thank you, babe. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Había un niño que era muy sensible a luces y sonidos. Construía escondites donde no podían entrar. No le gustaba mirar a la gente a los ojos. Lo hacía sentir incómodo. Un día se descubrió que tenía autismo. Con ayuda, poco a poco, aprendió a vivir mejor con ello.
Mientras más pronto se diagnostique, mejor. Conoce las señales en autismspeaks.org.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job!
Or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates. Our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can. Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Film Juice. I'm Andrew Canada.
And I'm Joe Dorado.
And the next movie we're going to be talking about is Peppermint, the action movie starring Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. My hopes were not high for this movie. The first thing I want to say before I'll explain it, I do think Jennifer Garner held her own. She didn't talk a lot in it. No. I think it could have been way worse.
I think it could have been way worse. You're right. You're right.
This movie
could have been worse. Could have been better.
Is about a woman who, you know, is just kind of your standard mother. She's trying to balance her family and work. Her husband gets mixed up in some kind of shady stuff.
Yep.
And what ends up happening, with these drug dealers end up murdering Jennifer Garner's husband and her daughter. So she disappears for 5 years after the murderers get off scot-free.
Yep.
And she comes back and she takes revenge on the drug dealers, and that's the whole movie.
That is the whole movie.
Taking out all the levels of these guys and stuff.
Yeah. Which, before we keep going, I'd like to mention that I just realized this. She never took out that lawyer in the beginning. Did you notice that? I was very surprised. She took out the judge, but she didn't take out the lawyer. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with that.
That was just really weird, because I thought he did way worse than whatever. But anyways, yeah, I did not care for this too much for this movie. I didn't have high hopes going into this movie at all. But it did better. I guess it did a little better than I thought it was going to do. I thought it was going to be really bad. But it just was kind of generic and boring.
But you kept saying that in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, generic.
I've seen this movie like a million times.
Right, but I don't care if action movies are generic.
But it wasn't thrilling at all. Like, the action wasn't, the action was so subpar. I was not thrilled once in this movie. There were a lot of action scenes. When I saw the reviews for this movie, I was like, this movie, what the issue probably is in the commercials there's a lot of action, and then the movie's not going to show a lot of action. There's going to be like 2 action scenes. But this movie had plenty of action scenes, but none of them I felt, I never felt on the edge of my seat in any of them. I never had my heart pounding in any of them. I never felt thrilled once in this movie, and that's an issue. If I don't feel thrilled during a really gory, crazy action scene, I think that's an issue.
Okay, I get that. And I will agree with you. I didn't really feel thrilled either, I guess. But I still thought the action was fine looking at it, right? Like, I still found it enjoyable. You know, because Jennifer Garner, she's just like going crazy, and she's shooting guys left and right, and she, you know, does a couple of other kind of crazy things that she sets up. I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't want to be too specific. So that, you know, because there were times where you're like,
yeah, the effects were good.
That's what I was looking for, and that was fine with me. If it had that thrilling element, it definitely would have brought this movie up a bunch.
A lot, yeah.
But just the way it was, I still thought was fine.
It was
again, just an action movie, because you just want to go see an action movie, right? Like, it's a completely escapist film. It doesn't have to be anything super exceptional. Obviously, there are those action movies that go the extra mile, and those are the ones that we really remember.
But it wasn't even
I don't think it was necessary for this.
But it wasn't even fun. I don't think a movie like I don't think the excuse for it's just an action movie. I understand there are better action movies, but that doesn't give this movie the excuse that it can
I don't think it's trying to make an excuse for itself, though.
It's
I think that it did what it set out to be.
I don't think. I guess. I think this movie wanted I think this movie thought it was better than it was. I really did. With how it was written and how everything was shot, how gritty it was. I think this movie set out to be a good action movie, a solid action movie. And I did not get that from this. I got a solid B action movie, and it was like very okay, very by the numbers.
See, I guess that's where we're different because that's what I just expected going in. Even though Jennifer Garner, you know, she's kind of a bigger star, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I expected. This movie was pretty much what I expected to be, except I thought that the dialogue was going to be way worse. And I know you still had problems with it, but I do not think it was nearly as generic as these other generic action movies that we've talked about before.
I mean, I'll give it that, but I still thought it was really generic. Like, if I compare it to another bad action movie, sure, but like for example, like, sure, I think this movie was probably better than like the Transformers the Last Night or whatever. Sure, great. But that doesn't mean it's still like that still doesn't mean it's going to be a higher rated movie just because it's better in comparison. I don't know. I just like I mean, I'm not going into this movie saying if it's better than the Transformers Last Night, it's like a 6 or a 7. I don't know. That's like what I'm trying to get at, I guess.
Okay. That makes sense.
But anyways, just to get off of that, Jennifer Garner, I was expecting at least a really good performance from her. I really I was like, this might, like, that could, like, save the movie, like, a little bit. And she did a good performance. Like, she definitely was a standout. She's in the movie the most, obviously. Sure. But she just, like, didn't, I think she overacted at a few parts, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't think she's, I think, like, she just was a lot, like, too much. Like, it was just, like, it wasn't believable because of how exaggerated her character was at some parts.
Are you referring to the parts where she like gets injured?
No, well, no, I'm talking about the parts where she's like delivering her dialogue like with that raspy voice, like first.
Like she's trying to be an action star, right?
Like first, I'm gonna do this. And then I'm going to blow your brains out. It's like, okay, like that's almost exactly what she says in the movie for one of the lines. And it's just, that's one of the issues I had with the dialogue and her character, because I just didn't think she was I thought she was a really boring character, and I didn't care for her character. Like, I didn't think her character was developed well enough where I really cared for her. Like, I didn't care what happened to her once.
I don't think that this is just more of a journey of revenge for her. Like, I think that where her character develops happens completely in the first part of the first act.
Yeah.
Because that's what fuels the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
So for the whole movie, I don't think that there needs, well, not that there doesn't need to be, but I think it's okay that we don't actually see such a drastic change because there was already such a drastic change from the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know.
So this movie's not really like going on her journey.
No,
it's about
the
end result.
That's true.
Just finishing it up.
I guess in the end, one of the main reasons why I wasn't engaged was I just didn't see the point to it. Like, I understand it's a revenge story, but I didn't.
Because her husband and her daughter.
No, I understand that. I get that. Okay. What I'm saying is, I just don't understand what he wanted to accomplish, like, by making this movie, I guess. I guess it's hard to explain.
He wanted to make an action movie.
Yeah, and I think when you make a movie, you should have a better reason. I just think it's kind of like, you get a movie like this when you're like, let's just make an action movie. I think you've got to set out for something more than just an action movie.
That's what they were trying to sell. Yeah. That's what they were going to market. So I do think that they set out what they wanted to do in that thing. So I thought it was fine.
Yeah. But anyways, what would you rate this movie?
5.5.
5.5?
5.5.
I'm going to have to give this, yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 because I think this movie, I think, for me, describes what a 5 movie is across the board. Yeah. Is generic. It's completely generic for me.
Yeah.
And it's not terrible. It's not like super bad, but it's also does nothing really good either. It's just very okay.
Yeah, it's
like
just
the most
movie.
okay.
If you just want to go and like enjoy an action movie, then I think this is a good movie to see. But as a movie, the scores that we gave were accurate, I feel. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just had a brain fart.
That's okay, Joe. We're going to be right back. We're going to be right back. We got one more commercial. We're going to talk about our throwback 7.
Just had a stroke.
You don't want to miss that.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
You've messed up your son's haircut. Do you try to fix it? Work with what you've got? Or show solidarity?
Thank you, babe. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Había un niño que era muy sensible a luces y sonidos. Construía escondites donde no podían entrar. No le gustaba mirar a la gente a los ojos. Lo hacía sentir incómodo. Un día se descubrió que tenía autismo. Con ayuda, poco a poco, aprendió a vivir mejor con ello.
Mientras más pronto se diagnostique, mejor. Conoce las señales en autismspeaks.org.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job.
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates, our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can. Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back, everyone, to Film Juice. I'm Joe Dorado.
I'm Andrew Canada.
And we have a throwback of the week now, and I'm so excited for this one. I really love this movie. 7, directed by David Fincher.
Yep.
It's just awesome.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
So, anyways, just to set it up for you guys, it's basically about 2 detectives. One's a newer detective, and one of them's Morgan, played by Brad Pitt. Morgan Freeman is more of a hardened or experienced detective.
He's kind of on his way out, which I'm sorry to interject. I have in my notes, I wrote down, this movie is like a satanic lethal weapon.
Yeah,
because
that's a good.
Literally,
that's a good,
like Morgan Freeman is Danny Glover's
yeah,
character.
You're right.
I'm getting too old.
That's so funny. And the anyways, basically they're trying to solve these murders. They're happening by the serial killer, and basically the serial killer is killing in the sequence of the 7 deadly sins, hence the title 7. And yeah, they have to catch him and
catch
stop
the bad guys and save the day.
Basically. So anyways, what do you think of this movie?
Excellent.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like most in films is religious symbolism. I'm not religious, but it's those stories are just so embedded into like the society and stuff, seeing those. And this is another movie, of course, that does that exceptionally well. So I was really looking forward to that, like going into this movie, because like there's going to be some because of the 7 Deadly Sins. Probably my favorite part of this movie is the rain. It's constantly raining throughout the movie. There's constantly water throughout the movie until the very end.
Yeah,
which is
really cool. Yeah,
interesting.
And
But there's water throughout this movie, be it rain or the sound of a dripping pipe, or anything like that. Which of course I just like that because it represents baptism, right, and rebirth, and that's what's happening to the city.
I literally have never thought of that. Okay.
And that's kind of what I feel like the serial killer, played by Kevin Spacey, who's really good.
I love that they kept that a surprise. Like, so when they came out with this movie, they hid that he was even in the movie because he was already being typecasted as a like villain, character in movies. So the fact that they hid that he was even in the movie, and they didn't even put him in the opening credits. That's why at the very end after the movie, they put his name first, right at the end of the movie. It's just John Doe as
even the credits for this movie are like crazy
oh
too, right?
My God, one of my favorite parts of this movie is it has one of the best intro sequences or opening credit sequences in any movie.
I thought it was interesting. I don't know. I didn't really like it that much. It was
so,
like a music video.
It's so intricate, and
it is intricate.
Everything in it is like super foreshadowing, and it's so detailed.
That's true.
It is like you don't realize. Like the second time I watched through it, I didn't really care for it that much in the first time I watched through it because I was like, this is just really jarring and like a lot. Like I don't know why it's like this.
Well, I don't have a problem with it being jarring. I mean, the whole movie, they're so shocking, right?
And then you watch it again and you realize that it's the whole intro sequence is John Doe writing down all the notes, and it's showing his entire apartment. It's showing like everything, which I think is so cool. Like that it like showed everything in the beginning, but you don't really like know.
Speaking of detail and John Doe's apartment, actually, one of the reasons that obviously this movie is so well directed. This is what I like to see, is what I'm about to say right now. What floor did John Doe live on?
Was it the
6th floor.
6th?
6th floor.
Okay.
Because 666.
Okay.
That's devil. Red doors all around in that.
That's true.
I'm not making that up, Joe.
No,
Don't laugh.
know.
That's all on purpose.
I know.
That's supposed
Everything
to be...
in this movie is on purpose.
Right, which, for any good movie, nothing is left to chance.
And I just want to say, David Fincher's, I love his directing style, and I think it works so well in this movie. It's one of those styles that's so... He has a very subtle style, I'd say, for directing wise. He doesn't do anything super crazy, but the way he's mastered his style of back and forth, and how he shoots dialogue, and how he just does the back and forth conversations, and just how he shoots from this scene. And I just think it's awesome.
I like the consistency as well.
Yes,
for example,
very consistent.
Whenever the detectives are going to the scene of a new body, tracking shot in, and it's always super dark in those rooms, which I think makes us look closer.
It's a very dark lit movie.
Right, of course, which is
good. It's
his thing, kind of. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, it's tinged green, I think, a little bit too. It's like a green
and same, obviously, in what's it called, Fight Club.
Yep, it's not as drastic as Fight Club.
But you can see the similarities.
You can. This movie's gruesome. It shows everything. The gluttony one was gross. So gross. Oh my God.
There are some things
that
I
is so
was sitting there
disgusting.
and I was still thinking this is a great movie. I wish I had not seen that.
The one dude where I actually can't remember which one it was, but the guy who's he's not even dead. They think he's dead on the bed, but he's not even dead. Sloth. Oh my God, that was just that.
Yeah, that was it. That was
that one's gross. That one's real scary. It's just I think this movie. The next point I wanted to hit was this movie. It does a great job with tension, This movie builds tension so well, and I think this movie has one of the best climaxes, like, in any movie. Like, I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree. I will say that the very end, not the climax, I mean, obviously that happens.
The climax is towards the end, which is weird, like how they structure that.
Like the last shot of the skyline.
Yeah.
This is what stopped the movie for being perfect for me. Morgan Freeman does a voiceover to end it, comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Nobody does a voiceover.
You're right.
In the
It did
rest
end
of
a
the
little
movie.
weird. I don't
Doesn't
know.
make any sense to me. I did not like that.
I wonder if that was David Fincher's. I remember reading about something where the ending was changed because they were worried audiences weren't going to like the dark ending.
Yeah.
And they did, because originally it wasn't going to be his wife's head. It was going to be the dog's head.
Spoiler alert.
But they changed. But David Fincher was obviously like, no, that's not what's going to happen. But I wonder if they changed like that ending.
Yeah, that could have been. That definitely
ending.
could have been like a studio or
because it was a little jarring. That didn't bother me though. I actually liked it. I actually really like it.
Came out of nowhere.
I think it comes out of nowhere.
Should have just let it end. Should have just let it.
Yeah.
End.
I agree. I didn't bother. It didn't bother me, but I agree with that. It could have been like that. But the thing that bothers me in this movie, and I don't think it bothers everyone, but just me personally, I think Brad Pitt's good in this movie. I like him, but I think there are times where I just don't care. I didn't care for his acting. Like I thought it was just. I don't know if it's a personal
Are you sure it wasn't
preference.
that you didn't care for his acting, or you didn't care for his character?
No, I think it was his acting. Because I liked his character. I just didn't think. I think some of his delivery on certain things was kind of like. I think it was the same as. Not the same, but I think it was like a little exaggerated, like at some parts. Like he was a lot at some points. And I know I said that with Jennifer Garner, but it just happens like that's the same complaint I have. It wasn't a lot. Like it wasn't crazy bad. It was not like Jennifer Garner's character. But what I'm saying is just some parts. It's not a big deal at all. But that's my one flaw. Is there are parts in the movie where his delivery I just don't care for.
I could see that a little bit when you're talking about Jennifer Gardner. I think that his delivery, although it is a lot at sometimes, I think that matches his character perfectly.
Okay.
I think he did a really good job on it.
That's fair. Before we wrap this up, I just want to say just one more time that this is one of the best climaxes in any movie. Period.
Yeah, and you should definitely. Everybody should watch it.
The tension is great. It's
awesome.
completely heartbreaking, and
It's such a compelling movie also, because it's a fairly long movie. It's 2
so
hours
well
and 15 minutes.
It's so well shot. Everything in that ending sequence is perfect. I think you can just watch that ending sequence over and over and over again. It reminds me of the beginning of Inglourious Bastards. So, like where you can just watch it over and over and over again. Like,
and I think it's a movie that you can watch with the sound off, which is huge for me.
No, that's actually really true.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
Ratings.
I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I really love this movie. I think this movie is so good. And I can watch it so many times.
I'm going to give it a 9.5.
Wow.
Because I really love this movie.
Whoa.
No, it was great, though.
I could give it a 9.5. It was really
and
good.
honestly, the thing, it took off a whole half a point, and I know it sounds crazy, but it was
That's fair.
The voiceover at the end.
That is fair.
No sense.
Really quick, I also like that Brad Pitt did when he broke his arm during one of the scenes, and they just kept it in the movie. Like they just wrote it into the movie. I thought that was really cool.
Yep.
So he acted with a broken arm.
Good stuff.
It's awesome. But anyways, so that was the show this week. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back next week with some more movies, and we'll see you next time at the movies.